this is Marlene Gibb with What Do You Do? And I want to introduce Sunil Jayasinghe, and I'm going to have to read it because it's a little long. So, you are a Sri Lankan American scientist, author, engineer, researcher, and educator, and then I added speaker and humanitarian, and does philanthropic work. Okay, I added those because I did all this research.
That's a good description of me.
I think that's a good description.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So, let's start. We met here at KJM because you were working on the tree.
Yeah, the Bodhi Tree in Sri Lanka, yes.
Yeah, so let's start with that. Tell me about what happened that you with.
Well, this tree, which I got interested in, is the oldest known tree recorded in history, and it's about 2,300 years old, or even more. So the tree actually is the sapling that was brought from India by the daughter of the Emperor Asoka.
Okay.
Her name was Sangamita, and the history of Sri Lanka records is where it was planted and when it was planted. So it has become a national symbol as well as one of the most precious trees in the world, and it has been actually safeguarded to take care of the health by a team of scientists in Sri Lanka, and also UNESCO is also involved. So this tree, as a young boy, I used to go there and pay my homage. But last year, that was in 2018, when I went there, actually I was coming from Nepal and from India after doing some research work on Kapilavastu,
Okay.
where Lord Buddha and his father's palace was there in Kapilavastu or in Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a dispute within whether it is in India or whether it is in Nepal. So when I came to Sri Lanka on my trip back to United States, I observed something very important. When I was there was a drizzle falling, and some vapor started rising from the roof below where the branches are. So it occurred to me suddenly was there any kind of harm, a detrimental harm would affect the tree by these fumes and by the heat that was radiating towards the branches. I had my telephoto lenses and all kinds of things, which I took out and took a few photographs of the tree, and then I noticed when I started looking at it closely that the tree was not in good health. The leaves were withered, yellowish, spotted, and there were certain marks that also on the barks of the branches, which showed that there was some kind of health effect, fungus which was growing on the branches.
Yeah, because it was like black, right?
That was black on the one side and one side was dark, light. I thought I should talk to the chief monk who was in charge of the temple. So when I went there, I could not meet him. I think he was not feeling well or something, so I spoke to his assistant. And at that time, when I spoke to the assistant, there were others who were listening to me, and they got concerned about it and asked me to talk to the botanist who was in charge, who was a scientist. His name was Bhati Sumitra Rachi, and I gave him a call immediately. And he asked me to come down and meet with him and have a chat. But already I had spoken to him about 15 minutes. So I said, no, I had to get back to US, and I'll be in touch with you. And I came back to the US. And I showed these photographs to Dr. Eric Berg, who's a scientist, who's a specialist on these matters, and to Jeff Strustel, who's a structural engineer, and who I've known for many years. And at that time, they also raised their concern that this must be taken care of immediately, rather than postponing the matter. There had been a lot of concern from a lot of Sri Lankans and also from the United States and from my friend from UNESCO. So that is where I am right now. So actually I've been interviewed by some Sri Lankan media and also some friends, and also from a scientist from the Arboretum here in Arcadia.
Sri Lanka is a Buddhist country, right? Mainly.
Yes, mainly a Buddhist country, yes.
So this tree is
It's in Sri Lanka, yes.
is very important.
Very important tree, yes.
To the Buddhist people.
I would not say specifically to the Buddhist people. I would say to anybody who is interested in the history and the history of the world and the history of botanist. To survive this long.
Yeah.
So there is some interest among the scientists to maintain its longevity and also to see that it is in good health all the time. Actually, I have prepared a letter to the president of Sri Lanka, Honorable Maithripala Sirisena, and also has requested him to take some action about this. And my sister, who's here, will be taking that to Sri Lanka sometime next month, early next month, and will be personally handing over to the president when she meet with him.
And are you going to stay involved in this project?
Of course, whatever the research projects. Yes. I might write a book about it. Yes.
Well, what I find interesting, it's never seemed to have any damage until now.
Yeah, the thing is, it is at least about 20 to 30 feet above ground, and people does not observe things that much. I mean, they come, they pay homage, and they offer flowers, and they light lamps, and they leave. In my case, my eyes, I have trained it to see whether there was anything.
Because of your background.
Because of my background, yes.
So we can talk about your background now. So,
okay.
You're highly educated, and you moved around. So, you're an engineer.
Correct.
You're a civil engineer
and a structural engineer.
And a structural engineer.
Yeah.
So that you understood that the tree, right?
Exactly. Yes.
That's and then you have the history of the research and archaeology.
Correct.
So that's a good combination.
True. That is exactly why I actually began switching my profession, being an engineer, to my passion, which actually want to do research on historical archaeology.
So now you're doing it.
That's what I'm doing. Yes.
Yeah. And it just came your way.
Exactly. That's right.
That's very interesting. So let's go back. You had, and then you came. We're going to move forward and backward in time because you were born in Sri Lanka in Colombo. Then you at 20 went to England. Then you came into Canada afterwards.
I went to England and I did my studies there. My
Right.
first degree is from England. I was there for about 8 years.
Right.
And then I got a scholarship to come to United States to study at University of Michigan.
Yeah, right.
I did my master's. And in 1973, I got an appointment here in Canada to work on the Churchill River Diversion Scheme. And then while I was doing that, I came down to Winnipeg and I did my doctorate at University of Manitoba.
Yeah, in structural.
In structural engineering. And then I was appointed I got a job with Syncrude, the largest mining and oil company in the world, as a senior civil structural engineer. And while I was working there in 1983, I was sent to Nepal as a technical diplomat by the Canadian International Development Agency. I had the opportunity of meeting with the King of Nepal, King Birendra, worked with some hierarchy people there, and I came to be very happy about what I was doing, because I was doing something very important, researching on some matters which was relevant to the community, which was deprived of going from a place called Birindanagar to Dialect to Jumla, to the very high mountains. They had to walk many days. So I had a team of engineers and demographers. We did some surveys, and we made a path, and we made some suggestions, reports, what can be done to improve communication systems, and also to improve their health and also their well-being. Before 7th century, India and Nepal was not a Hindu country. It was all 90% of the country was Buddhist.
Okay.
Right? Or even 95% of the country was Buddhist. So after the 7th century, there was a change because of the Hindus and the Muslims invading the countryside and countries, and then there was a complete change, little by little. But one of the main reasons was propagating a false myth or a false statement about what Lord Buddha ate, which was actually saying that he ate pork for his last meal of Buddha. That is why it's called the last meal of the Buddha. It was taught in the universities, taught in the Pirivenas, it was taught in temples that he died after eating pork.
But they're not allowed to eat pork.
Not only not allowed, for a person like that, he would not expect,
I would think of the Buddha as a vegetarian, by the way.
Yeah. So that is what I did the research on after that.
Oh, okay.
So that is how actually I came onto that. So one research actually stepped onto another one.
Well, that's life.
Yes, that is life. One thing to another.
Yeah,
Yes.
one thing to another. So then you came back to the United States and opened your own.
Consulting firm. That was in 1984. Yes.
Yes, and talk about that.
I already had made a lot of friends when I did my master's. I did my master's here in the US, right? And then I went to Canada to work.
Yeah.
So, and also to do my doctorate. And then I went to Nepal, then I came to US.
Yeah. Right.
So I had already a base. I thought I should settle down in Los Angeles. So the first thing I did was I applied for my residency, and within a few months I got my green card. And I opened my, my company. It's called Sunil and Associates. Then within a few weeks, I was recognized by the city of Los Angeles.
That fast?
Yes, very fast.
Wow.
Because I was very innovative. I was very helpful for the people. And I knew what I was doing. I was not bragging about this, but and within a couple of months, I have already about 20 employees in my company.
Oh God! Then you had to manage growth, right?
Yeah, I had a management growth.
And you had to manage employees, which.
That's right. So I actually was very happy. As they say, the country of the opportunity, and I actually made a good hay out of this place. So I was very happy, and bought some few real estate properties and invested heavily. And I thought money is not what actually has made me. It's my real dedication to philanthropic work.
That's right. Exactly.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at your.
Yeah, helping the people.
Right.
So what I did was I gave a good education to my children, and I slowly but surely I gave up my engineering practice. I thought about it in 1998. By 2007, I had closed down and completely indulged myself in doing research.
I'm doing humanitarian
work. I was appointed and elected by the city of Duarte to head, to be the president and head the Duarte Outreach Center.
Right.
And I spoke everywhere, and I told that money does not make a person. What makes a person is what is actually comes out of you as a person who is willing to show what you can do for your other person or your people. My name is Sunil Jayasinghe.
Hi, my name is Frank McDonough. I'm a botanist here at the LA County Arboretum and Botanic Garden. My official title is Botanical Information Consultant, and I've been here for 20 years.
I'm Jeff Strutzel. I'm a structural engineer, and want to thank you and thank Sunil for the opportunity to be of assistance on this project to try and look after the Bodhi Tree in Sri Lanka.
We are here to get advice from Frank with regard to what needs to be done in order to look after the health of the Sri Mahabodhi, and also to see whether there is any kind of concern with regard to its health that need to be addressed right away.
We're wondering if we can do any testing on the tree itself to determine the condition of the leaves and the bark. I think it appeared to Sunil that looked like there's some obvious problems. It looked like fungus or something going on with the leaves, but being not professional in that field, we don't really know for sure, what's going on. It doesn't look good, but can we do anything? You can think of maybe to test it?
Well, yes, actually, there's several things. First thing is, you're saying there's a problem or a fungus on the leaves. You might want to try to determine what that fungus is or what it might be. And there's several ways you can go about that. One of them is to take pictures of the leaves and send them to people who know leaf fungal diseases, plant pathologists. We have one here, Jerry Turney is his name. He's over at the Agriculture Commissioner's Office on Firestone Boulevard here in LA County. So you'll be amazed what can be done just through photographs. So send the photographs of the disease lead to Jerry. Next thing to do is to look at the entire canopy of the tree and determine what the percentage of the canopy is. In other words, the canopy is 100% canopy would be as wide as the tree gets in nature with no sun coming through the leaves. That's 100%. And so you figure from there, is this a 50% canopy? Is it a 25% canopy? That tells you the general health of the tree.
My observation was that the fungus, or if you look at this, if you look at the branch itself, the underside is completely white and the upper side is all black. So I was suspecting that the black area or darkened area might be fungus. And with regard to canopy, there is no covering of the branch itself with any kind of roof or any kind of.
You mean with a leaf cover?
No.
When I say 100% covering, I'm talking about with the leaves.
Oh, with the leaves.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And so you look at that whole tree. What percentage of the leaves are still remaining from the ideal percentage to be 100% covering? And that can tell you something about the health of the tree. Also, this black stuff that you're mentioning on the tops of the leaves, that could be one of two things. That could be spores from the leaf fungus oozing down from the tree, and those spores typically cause other problems with the trees too, including canker. Canker is just like it sounds. It's like an open sore on the tree. It takes quite a few different forms, though it's not always noticeable, but canker can produce spores as well, and the spores will show up on the tree. But if this is something that's chronic, it's been happening for a while, you have to address it. And it sounds like you have to address it. Sounds like, yeah, the least you can do is at least keep those leaves underneath the tree instead of taking them away and cleaning them off.
But there's not much of leaf to talk about, because this is not a tree which is flourishing with a lot of leaves and...
No. It requires its own leaves decaying underneath it, because the decaying leaves of a tree feed those microflora in the ground, like fungus, nematodes, insects, and bacteria that are the most beneficial for that tree. The tree produces its own really good food by evolving its leaves to produce compounds when it breaks down that are most beneficial for the growth of the tree. And this is both directly and indirectly. So you really got to leave those leaves down there.
It seems that though there is enough moisture in the soil and also the nutrients, as far as I know, say if you provide too much of heat, any leaf will show signs of withering.
Well, actually what happens with heat is generally leaves do pretty well with heat. What they don't do well is reflected heat during a heat wave. But generally they can survive some pretty tough conditions, and the way they do that is the new leaves, when they come in, the density of the stomata are small holes in the leaves that need to be there in order for transpiration to take place. The density of the stomata goes down to correspond with the heat conditions outside. And so they will grow into a hot situation. And that's trees been in the tropics where it's been hot for millions of years. That's the big problem is when you have a big sheet of metal reflecting that sunlight back at it. At the same time, it's getting the sunlight down. It's doing its darndest to resist the sunlight coming down on the top of the leaves that have evolved to deal with the sunlight. But the bottom of the leaves, which have not evolved to deal with the sunlight, are being hit too, and it's just forget about it. Nothing they can do. What happens is before the when you get a lot of salt in there, it pulls water up into the tree, and that can increase the weight of the branches and cause the branches to be more likely to fail. And so you got to, if you do have a reflected surface like that and it's causing those problems, you got to get rid of that, or either that or deal with it somehow. Yeah, put something over it to where it doesn't do that anymore.
Even a leaf not only in bow trees. What do you call this? Deciduous trees? No.
Deciduous, yeah.
Deciduous trees.
Bow trees are partially to fully deciduous depending on the conditions.
Right. So these deciduous trees I have seen, even when they fall off the branches on the ground, if you look at it, it is still stiff. Stiff, though it's yellowish and it's gone dry, it is stiff.
Right.
But the leaves which I saw is like something which doesn't have what you call the rigidness to hold itself. See, even the leaves which have fallen on the ground has a stiffness that can retain its shape.
That would happen if it was under a lot of stress and it dropped its leaves.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Now, usually when they seasonally drop leaves, they have some time to prepare, and what they do is they'll pull nutrients out of the leaves and put it underneath the bark of the tree or in the roots to help feed the next set of leaves that comes in. But if there's a lot of stress all at once and they don't have time to prepare, they'll still drop the leaves, but the leaves will be like they're green. They won't be, like you're saying, rigid or yellow or looking like the tree had time to pull out the nutrients. So yes, that does happen when the tree's under a lot more stress.
Exactly. To diagnose the real cause for this, I think you had agreed that the heat might be reflecting off this metal roof. I saw it to my eyes, the steam coming out of the roof.
Yeah, it doesn't help, no. And having a metal roof right next to a tree does not help.
Okay.
I just wanted to say good luck to finding what's wrong with it and getting that back down. It sounds like a great heritage tree that needs to be preserved.
Yes,
Yeah, I've read that those trees can live for 3,000 years, so should have quite a bit of time left.
That's why, yeah, ideal conditions. It's growing, the way it's growing right now, it's just tough on the poor thing. And anything you can do to help it's going to help.
Yeah.
To pinpoint and do something about it. So with that note, I want to thank everybody who has been helpful. Thank you very much, Frank McDonough. And also I want to thank Jeff Trustle for having this conversation with Frank to find out what exactly is the problem with the Sri Mahabodhi at Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka. I'd like to thank the audience for listening this conversation, and also would like to have an input from the viewers who will be seeing this on YouTube and also most likely in the social media. And I want to invite the Mahasangha of Sri Lanka and all over the world. I will invite once again, lastly, Dr. Venerable Pallegama Srinivasa Mahathera, and also the botanist Mr. Bhatyas Mitrarachi, to take this matter seriously and to do something about it. And thank you very much. Thank you very much once again. Aibowan.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. And anything else you want to say?
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing, because you are actually getting all this message, not only through me, but to the people that really need to know, because they are more involved in their lives. I don't know, I'm not saying stereotypes, but without actually knowing there's another world out there to see, to understand, which is hidden from our sight, from our knowledge. But by this kind of programs, and by this kind of TV programs, and what you're doing, you're actually you are dispersing, you are propagating the knowledge of yours and who's you are interviewing to the public, to the people.
Right.
And thereby, you're doing a very great service. That is what I want to say. And thank you very much for this.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is Marlene Gibb with What Do You Do? Thank you.